Yeah.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started, please? And thank you. Could somebody take the roll of these? Teresa's not going to be here. I'll do it.
I can do it.
You want to do it?
Sure, yeah.
Otherwise, we can.
All right. Andy Bertram,
Here?
Dan Peter,
Yeah, I'm here too.
Scott Gergen,
Here.
Lisa Hedin here, Teresa Mose, Russ Roloff,
Here.
Vince O'Brien,
Here.
Superintendent Collins.
Here. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just at the end, I'm going to close just for 5 minutes, teacher negotiations update for the entire board, because we're very close to settlement, so I just want to tell the entire board where we're at.
It's interesting because he suggested it was going to be 15 minutes earlier and now it's down to 5.
Well, 3 of you are going to be so convincing in that meeting that it'll be over in 5.
With that friendly amendment, is it a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is approved. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from September?
All motion. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it's approved. Motion to approve the bills payable.
All motion. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bills paid. Motion to approve charitable contributions for the first quarter.
Well, that's a good one. I'll make that motion. Thank everyone that is on that list.
I'll second.
Thank you both. Any discussion? Other than to thank everybody very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to accept the quarterly review of student activities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And now for the good news.
Lots of good news, and I'd like to thank everybody who does come to share. I know it's time out of your life as well. And so Kyle Latch and Kathy O'Keefe are here to do a presentation on the Miss Minnesota visit and a bowling presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and share about our Miss Minnesota visit with Rachel Letta to Kennedy Elementary School. Kathy O'Keefe is a teacher, resource teacher at Kennedy Elementary School, and she asked me in August, I think it was sometime in August, if we could arrange to have a visit with Rachel coming to Kennedy, who is actually a former Kennedy student, and I thought it would be a great experience for kids to see a former student that rose to that level and have a positive message about bullying and respect, and it was just a great opportunity to have the student body together for a great event like that, very positive. And Mrs. O'Keefe is going to talk a little bit more about the details of what she shared with us on that day.
Well, first of all, she came on October 2nd, and we felt that she was a perfect fit for a kickoff to our year. Having been a former student, and she also as a high school student worked with our special needs kids every day as the high school helper. So she was very receptive to coming back. And those of you that don't know Rachel, she also is a teacher herself. She teaches art at the high school level up in northern Minnesota, and is taking the year off to represent our state and do a lot of fun, cool things for our state. So we just felt that it was a perfect fit to have her come and teach us and help us understand her feelings about bullying. So the first thing we did was we had the teachers prep the kids about, how bullying is going to hurt our school if it doesn't get dealt with right away. So we made a poster that was called Bully Free Starts With Me, and we actually had it made over at the high school in their tech department, so that was a nice, cool connection too. Fortunately for us, the ink didn't work, so they gave it to us for free, and we just added our own color to it, so we scored there too. So this is a picture of, that was a picture of Rachel kind of meeting with the whole group. She had the whole school there, and I was amazed and proud at how captivated our students were by her. And we had a video that Andy Leiser helped us make that we'll just show a short clip of it. It kind of shows her as a student in our school. There she is as a kindergartner. So that went on for about 3 minutes. What I really liked about that was just that the kids could connect with her and realize she was a little girl too at one time. And we also had, this is a picture of one of our special needs students who was asked by Mr. Latch to be the one to introduce her. And he has some confidence issues, and it was just so wonderful. This is where I get teary, and I said if I start to get teary, he'll have to jump in. It was just a really neat opportunity for him. And he went home and told his dad that he was going to be introducing Miss Minnesota, and of course his father said, "Don't lie. No, you're not." So when I called and said, he's been selected to do this, of course the dad was thrilled, and he was able to, I sent home the script that he had to memorize or try to get down, and so the father helped him with that and even came that day. So this is his father at the event, kind of, I think he was very proud. This is a picture then of the same student, and I did tell Rachel kind of a little background and what some of his needs are, so she connected with him and just wants to be able to connect with him during the year and keep encouraging him to stay on the right track. And the poster.
You can also see from the poster, we zoomed in on the bully-free Starts With Me, but then all the students and the teachers were asked to sign around that to kind of signify that kind of pledge of what they're committing to throughout the year.
And I think what was really neat too was that was done before she came. And so the teachers did a really great job of prepping our kids, so they had some background information about Rachel and also what was going to be said about bully-free, the bully-free message. So that was a really good prep. After she got done with the whole presentation in the gym, and I have to add too, she also did do her talent, which was a ribbon dance. And the kids were thrilled with that. You know, she comes in this beautiful little costume, and she describes her talent as she's a painter by her heart is in painting, but because that doesn't present well up on stage, she tried to think of a way that she could demonstrate her painting, and she came up with this ribbon dance, and it was beautiful, and it was a new Taylor Swift show or song, so of course that grabbed the kids right away too. And then she had an opportunity to meet with each of the kids at their own grade level. And that was really fun. That's when she had time to really connect with them and have question and answers. And the kids were really pretty riveted, to tell you the truth. So each of the classes got a picture taken with her. There's our 4th graders being silly. And that just kind of shows her really being able to connect with kids on a one-to-one. And she's pretty thrilled. I think this is really a neat video of how the kids just clamored around her and how graciously she handled herself. They're so spontaneous, and they just kind of, an opportunity to touch her was just pretty cool.
I don't know if we wanted to show that one or not. We weren't going to.
I guess we didn't talk about that one.
Yeah,
So,
we don't have to.
the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, well, we ended the day with a wonderful potluck supper that Kennedy is pretty famous for, and I had called her mom to find out what her favorites were. So all of her favorites were at the potluck. And she ate 2 plates of food. So I thought you're going to regret that when you try to get into your little dresses later. But The other thing that I thought was really neat was that at conferences this past week, I had one of my special needs students who said, gosh, I didn't know that Miss Minnesota was coming. And I said, oh, it went home in a newsletter, but I tell you why we had her come. And, you know, she's a local girl. Yep, he told us that. Yep, he came home, this is a little first grader, and he came home and was able to just tell them everything that happened, and he was so impressed with, you know, he knew about this pinky promise that she talked about, and the color blue represents bully-free. And the other thing that was really neat is he has a lot of facial deformities, and he has experienced bullying. And he told his parents, well, you know, I know a lot about bullying, and it's happened to me, but it's not about me, it's about the other kids. So, that's hard to... the other thing that was really cool is Rachel, being an artist, did draw pictures when she was with the small groups of kids. So she drew a couple pictures that I hope we can get framed and maybe hang up somewhere. When I asked her recently to sign them, she was embarrassed that these were going to be framed. So she said, well, I'll be sending Kennedy a special picture. So the kids were thrilled to be able to watch her demonstrate that. And then the older kids each got a signed autograph card of hers. So all in all, I just think it was a really, really neat experience. And she plans to come back in the spring and reconnect with the kids and just kind of see how did the year go and did we achieve some of our anti-bullying goals. So, did we get it all?
I think we did, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Very neat, thank you.
The Channel 14 folks had that on right away the next day.
Right.
So I think they're still playing it once in a while.
I think so too,
It's
yeah.
pretty cool to watch. Yeah.
She did an awesome job.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for all the work you did to help facilitate that, yeah. Thank you both.
And you guys are welcome to leave. You do not have to stay for Mr. Baker's exciting presentation. Paul, come on up. Pinecrest Elementary, kindness and chalk.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to connect with two things, but it's really kind of connected with that same idea with Bully Prevention Week month being in October. We had a really neat opportunity, and this opportunity was brought forward by some teachers this summer. Tracy Pyle, a first grade teacher, connected with this idea and said, can we do this at Pinecrest? And I said, absolutely. So with the help of Sarah Cannell, a fourth grade teacher, we had our students able to be part of a kindness and chalk activity. And kindness and chalk, what we did is we connected with some conversations in our classrooms about the power of words, and really talked about how words have a positive influence or it can have a negative influence on us. I made my first ever move note, and I read a book to the students, and so you're up in the corner, and the book, they can actually see the book, and it was pretty funny to hear that the kindergartners thought that I was really there and were waving to the screen. And so I read the book, and it was about, and you'll hear a little bit more from some of our students. And then the kids all went outside, one grade at a time, and they covered all of our sidewalks and blacktop with kind words and words of encouragement. And just, they're still there, and it's really neat that you can still hear kids talking about that experience and how meaningful it was. And so Andy Leiser, his great talents, had put together this video.
Was kindness and chalk. Students at Pinecrest Elementary School in Hastings, Minnesota, took part along with families and students around the world to celebrate this event. The idea was to launch an anti-bullying campaign that focused on kindness and encouragement. Our students heard a short story read by Principal Paul Baker, and then they headed outside in waves to cover our surrounding sidewalks and parking lots with their art.
The background is actually all the art from our sidewalks.
Thing like nightmares that you're in on the side for like trying to tell kids the 90s and can be friendly to other kids and stuff. Like other kids, you know, something more respectful.
It's something that is good for people to learn how to be more kind.
And that's why we go for
So we make people feel
that like if somebody's having a bad day, they're like try to get it cheered up.
that they're special if this means somebody like, you know, so.
Well, I felt pretty cool. that you do a lot nicer. It was kind of a lot. Like there was a lot. Stranger Keeper is called one. It was looking dots and colors. At first there was this big red. There was like a red moon or a circle, and it like was leading up first. Then number one came and it like one was like big instead of this one. The other dots came numbers and then the big block of red felt left out. The celebration. And then uniform one too. The right one was numbers. Be kind to everybody. Okay. Be respectful. Be responsible.
Be kind to one another.
A special thanks to Mrs. Pyle and Miss Pinole for organizing this event for our students. They did a fantastic job, and this will be a tradition. I guarantee it.
I suck with my friends, but be confident.
While the visual reminders of our kindness in chalk will fade in time, the spirit of the event lives on in our hearts and in our minds as we do everything we can to reduce bullying.
She joining you, Mr. Baker?
And encourage one another to do the very best we can be.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's really neat. One of the students did write, "Be confident," and it's really large right as you walk into the building. So it's kind of neat to read that each day as you come into the building. I'd also like to recognize Lena Mueller, fourth grade teacher at Pinecrest, and she was selected to receive the Thrivent Financial Personal Finance Educator Award, and she'll be receiving that on November 5th. And it's an award given to educators that bring more awareness to personal finance. And she created a lesson, and it was all centered on the concept of opportunity cost. And it's connected with a piece of children's literature called Tia Wants a Car. And it's about a family who, two of the members of the family are here in America, and they're saving their money to buy a car, but at the same time they have relatives that are not here in America, and so they're faced with that opportunity cost on a daily basis of, do we save this money for the car, or do we save this money to help bring our family over? And so through some activities and dialogue in the classroom, students are really able to understand that concept. And so it's a pretty neat award that she's receiving here, and we're quite proud of her.
So did she get a car, or did she bring her family over?
She got the car.
Okay.
Yep, she got the car, and a lot of the relatives and the family around thought that they were, why are you buying this car when we're trying to bring our families over? But it was about understanding kind of those trade-offs and how that balance of it actually helped them be more productive here, having a car. So,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you. More good news as we reach and touch students' lives and families' lives. Dean Markuson.
I'd like to say thank you to the school board for giving me the opportunity to come here and update you on the community initiative of Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. And basically it's my objective tonight to give you an overview and an update on what the community is doing. And I feel this is a very important subject to our military, veterans, families, and the community. Many of us may think that the war on terrorism is over, but there are many of our service members and families that are still suffering. So our objective is to bring them all the way home. Okay, I'll give you a little brief introduction about myself. I served in the active United States Army for 20 years and throughout the stations throughout the world. I had a tour in Vietnam and a tour in Korea. I retired as a first sergeant. I'm originally from North Dakota, but moved to Hastings to start a new change. in life and seeking employment. I'm currently 100% service-connected disabled. What about the initiative? We met at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in 2008. However, the initiative stalled. We didn't go anywhere. But it was rekindled by the veteran service organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Meadsville Lions. And it resulted in us being proclaimed by the governor of the state of Minnesota in September 2010. I'll say one thing, this was not an easy journey. However, the community was generous and understanding in helping to reach this goal. What is our mission? To be engaged and committed to a sustainable awareness for the purpose of visibility, delivering, connecting opportunities to serve, support, meet needs, and form a relationship with our servicemen and women, veterans, families, and the community. Our coordinating partner is United Way of Hastings, and they are also our partner in building web support, and also the veteran service organizations. What are our core values? Our core values are the same as the city of Hastings and of our armed forces. Who are our partners? The easiest way to explain it, all the residents of Hastings. I don't know what my service population is, but there are over 150 military families here in Hastings and thousands of veterans. So there's a lot of people to serve. What have we done to be reactive? We haven't had that many examples of providing assistance, but they're very broad. We work with benefits entitlements, financial management, readiness, homelessness, employment, emergency management services. We've dealt with auto repossessions. We've dealt with helping, assisting, and purchasing a brand new auto. And Hastings Family Services provides us and the soldiers with help and hope. And with them, every door is open. This demonstrates that Hastings area reaches out as a family in support and service to one another in many programs and services. The individuals that are on my email list know we have a lot of activities. I do more than annual marketing throughout the community. I make door-to-door visits to every business here in Hastings. That's a lot of them. We've seen the completion of the Veterans Memorial at the levee on the riverfront. We've held post-deployment ceremonies and family readiness group socials. There was one here when the latest group left the community. Community festivals. We were at Rivertown Days, Little Log House, Downtown Historical Hastings Cruise In. We went to Camp Ripley on a tour. We held Military Appreciation Weekend at Hidden Greens. And this weekend, we're celebrating our 5th anniversary, which all of you are invited to. So, what items are we being addressed? We're going to have regular community working sessions. We're going to bring in a speaker on a quarterly basis, the second Thursday of January, April, July, and October. We meet at the American Legion, 7 p.m. Community updates, we're going to continue to network. We're going to continue community building. We're already talked about the Military Family Speakers Bureau. Our next one in January is going to be about employment issues. In April, we're going to talk about PTSD and Agent Orange. So one of the upcoming big activities we got coming up, November's Veterans Day. the Hastings Middle School has a wonderful program plan. And that all the kids are involved, and the whole Tilton Community Education Center, their youth group is involved. So the school district is involved in this. And I would like to say there's going to be a tremendous speaker, Paul Langenfeld, a resident of Hastings, who will talk about people with disabilities and disabled vets. He has a beautiful vision, so I would encourage everybody to come. In conjunction with that, every high school and middle school military student that's related to military will receive one of these. Every elementary student and preschool student, will receive this teddy bear with a dog tag and a yellow ribbon. We've already delivered it to 2 child development centers. One of the community television. If you haven't had a chance, watch the In Uniform series, where our veterans are telling their stories. We got a brand new unit coming here to Hastings. Because you might have noticed the armory is bare. There's 140 new soldiers coming to Hastings, and they're going to be bringing their families with them. So it'll be my responsibility to serve and support them, and I'm going to need your community help. As part is beyond the yellow ribbon, as with any organization or business, we have a set of best practices, okay, that we follow and check. We're going to continue to recognize businesses and organizations in the community that go beyond what is required. What are our goals? We want to be visibility in the community even greater. Identification of servicemen, women, veterans, and families. I fully recognize that our military families are busy with school activities, community activities, and family activities. So I haven't got to know them, okay? And we want to give thanks for their service and dedication to our country and community. And the key thing, even though we haven't had the need, we want to develop a volunteer capacity to serve if a situation comes up. I would like to say I'm very thankful for the businesses in Hastings that have come forth and provided their services. They can range all the way from lawn mowing to snow plowing. The business has been called upon. What do I encourage? Join the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon mailing list. It's basically www.beyondtheyellowribbon.org, and get involved with me, okay? I'm not a bad guy. Hastings is the best of the best and the model for the nation, because it is a community that cares about the welfare of its citizens, not only the military. One thing I'd like to add, being Miss Minnesota was here, on 8 November from 2 to 4 at the Pleasant Hill Library, she'll be there. So come out and visit us. And at this time, I'd like to recognize the Hastings Public School District. I did ask them to attend, but so I'll give it to the principal. We'd like to a challenge coin for both the high school and the middle school, and a pin.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Are there any questions? It's been an honor to work with your students and an honor to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and energy.
Thank you
Very
so
much
much.
appreciated. And now under the superintendent's report, I'm going to skip to Aaron. Hopefully he's got good news. The audit report doesn't always have good news, but Aaron?
Actually, I think we're gonna put it right up on the screen.
Oh, yeah, but aren't you gonna sit here so you can talk to the camera?
All right. That's what I was trying to get around.
It's sort of a rhetorical question, but just sit here so you can see the camera.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Do you want the clicker?
I'm sure I can click to do it just
Just
right
like a
click?
mouse, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we can move right through. So I'll just start by introducing myself. My name is Aaron Nielsen. I'm a partner with Malloy, Montague, Karnowski, Radosevich. We go by MMKR. You have before you the 3 reports this evening. The financial statement for the district, I would consider that a district document, as well as the student activity report, which is a district document. And then the management report is a document I would say is more on our end, where we're providing you a summary of our audit results and financial results of the district for the past few years that we use to facilitate our presentations. So I've also prepared the PowerPoint that I'll march through here, and there really won't be any surprises for you. Everything was in the management report. I understand you've been presented the financial results for the year, so everything should fit right in here. So I'll march through it pretty quickly, save some time if there's any questions at the end, and we can go from there. So with that, we share with you our auditor's role, provide the opinion on the basic financial statements for the 2 separate audits, the district audit, the financial statements, as well as the separate student activity audit. We also have some reports on internal controls and compliance over the financial statement audit, as well as the federal single audit. Your district receives well in excess of the $500,000 threshold of federal awards requiring the additional testing for the single audit. And then we also have a couple of reports with state laws and regulations, which is the Office of the State Auditors Legal Compliance Manual, and then the Manual for Activity Fund Accounting by the Minnesota Department of Education. I'll get right to it with the results of our audit. We've issued what is known as an unmodified audit opinion. It's exactly what you're looking for. The financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. With regard to our internal controls and testing and compliance testing that we did complete, as I noted, the several areas for the district's financial statement audit, we had just one finding this past year. And I want to clarify, this is an internal control comment versus a compliance finding. So we test your controls over compliance, and then we test compliance. So with regard to the child nutrition cluster and the federal awards, the district's required for any vendors that you spend more than $25,000 with to assure that those vendors haven't been suspended or debarred by the federal government for any reason. What we found that the district didn't keep on file and wasn't ensuring that that testing was taking place, but when we did test all the vendors in that program, none of them were suspended or debarred, so there were no instances of non-compliance. Just making sure the district is testing it beforehand. And you'll see in the complete finding, we've documented when was the district in a corrective action plan. They've noted that they've implemented it by the end of September, and they brought them to me. I know they tested them at that moment, the day we shared it with them for your current fiscal year that you're in. So this was not an uncommon finding that we had with other districts a couple years ago. It's just kind of the cycle as to when your district was required for us to test your child nutrition cluster. It doesn't come up with some of the other programs because you're spending it more so on salaries and benefits, so then you're not really spending that threshold with your individual vendors with federal funds. We have your student activity audit results here. We've issued a qualified opinion, and I'll share we issue a qualified opinion for all our student activity audits for all the districts we work with. They're prepared on a cash basis, which is not in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, but it's how you're required to report to the Minnesota Department of Ed, which also brings along that additional internal control and compliance finding to ensure that all cash receipts and disbursements are in there. And then we had just one finding, which is the last bulleted point with that manual for activity fund accounting, which has many requirements, but the one finding we had again this year is just making sure the cash receipts are deposited in a timely fashion. So making sure they're getting to the bank as quickly as possible.
Aaron, for this audit, what's kind of the maximum that qualifies as timely?
The MBE used to identify you shouldn't have deposits over the weekend. I think they've softened on that a little bit because they recognize Fridays get very difficult. We try to use a measurement period of about a week when we're testing it to make sure they're getting to the bank within a week.
Thank you.
We have a table providing, this is, the General Education Formula Aid is the largest single source of funding in public schools. This past year, and we've started for 2015, as you'll see, was an increase of 2% for the fiscal year we're auditing June 30th of 15. And we've started, just to highlight that you can see we know our math wouldn't calculate out to the 2% increase, but the legislature had to increase that formula by that amount because of some changes in the pupil weightings, which we'll see in a later graph that we have. This is a statewide calculation provided by this MBE, Minnesota Department of Ed. The MBE does this calculation. For a 10-year period, we provided the statewide average alongside your district's calculation. And as you can see, from 2011, the district has been experiencing a decrease in that calculation through the current audit. Absolutely is how you planned it in your approved budget with that spend down, but showing that decrease each of the past 4 years. My next two tables, we provide revenues on a per ADM basis, so the average daily membership, as well as the next one will be on the expenditures on an average daily membership. So just a couple of comments alongside the statewide 7-county metro area averages. You can see in total the district is below those averages. And then for this past year, you can see an increase for your district from 2014 to 15 from 12,453 to 13,108. A couple of reasons for that's the increase in the formula allowance we just talked about. The district also recognized some additional special education funding that's reimbursed on a spending basis. So some increased transportation costs that occurred in special ed provided some more special ed funding. Another factor that comes into play in certain cases like debt service fund, you'll have an increase even though your expenditures were flat when you're experiencing declining enrollment as the district is. So our denominator is reduced, increase in that per ADM average is also occurring. And then the last point I wanted to share with you is if you look at the property tax row across the top there for your district from 13, it goes from 2253, dips to 1281, and then back up to 2048. And that really is a product of the property tax shift that the Department of Ed and the legislature have utilized to balance the state's budget, whereby you recognize more or less tax revenue where there's an equal and offsetting state aid adjustments. So your taxpayers didn't see that up and down effect, but just how it's recognized through the property tax recognition for the district. On the expenditures, a similar graph, we have all the funds, the general fund, food service, community service, and then the debt service operation. Overall, you see a change from the prior year, the increase from 12,684 to 12,882. The increase I mentioned in transportation costs and special ed is primarily in that pupil support category. You can see going from 889 to 987. Another factor we identified increases in the expenditures were some payouts with retirements this past year. The general fund for a 10-year history here with expenditures and then fund balance, unrestricted fund balance, and cash and investment balance. The yellow bar really is following a pattern similar to what we presented earlier on the statewide graph. The blue bar that you see there for cash and investments is kind of taking a wild ride, as you can see, and if you may recall from last year, really being impacted by how the state aid metering was coming to districts. You receive most of your state aids, about 90% of them in the year you're earning them, and then the remaining 10% in the subsequent year. At one point that got down to almost 60-40 split, as well as then the tax shift coming into play. So you can see even with the declining fund balance the last couple of years, the cash balance has improved in the last couple of years due to that change in getting back to that 90-10 schedule. We have your financial position broken down for the general fund, the individual, the summary of the components, non-spendable being resources that are already tied up in prepaids, they've been spent, prepaids or inventory, restricted by state funding restrictions would include operating capital. When you get into the unrestricted, then that gets further broken down between committed, assigned, and unassigned. Commitments are by the board resolution to commit them. Your assigned categories entirely when you have adopted a deficit budget for this following fiscal year. So you can see that the district anticipated a larger spend down at the end of 14 and the 15 year than you currently have adopted in 15 going into 16, where you see the 1,666,227 to 668 in that assigned category. Not a whole lot to say about the cash graph anymore. It was a lot more drastic with the metering changes. That's getting more comparable from year to year. It does highlight the timing when your cash flow comes in with property taxes. So you do see a $6.1 million swing from the high to low month-end balances this past fiscal year. I got a couple of graphs on the students that are serving. Now these wouldn't necessarily be individual student counts, but an average daily membership throughout the year. For 2015, for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2015, the district served approximately 4,521 students. That represents a decrease of about 30 from the prior year, or less than 1%, 0.7% from 2014 level. You can see that just a slight decrease in the ADMs that we see there, and a little more significant presentation of pupil units, which then converts to this percentage here, the less than 1%, but we're over 6% when you look at the pupil units, and that's the legislative change that was enacted to try to ease the pupil weighting transition.
So what exactly does pupil units mean in your audit?
Yeah, it's the primary source of how the state finances. It's based on pupil units. Yep.
There's all these different acronyms for defining measuring pupils. What is your use of? Do you know the?
The pupil units that he's showing there is the weighted.
Okay, it is
right. The weighted.
Okay,
the weighted.
is the head count.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So ADM is without the pupil weightings by grades.
Okay.
Pupil units is a conversion. I've got just a couple more graphs for the general fund. Looking at your revenues for this past year, your general fund revenues were about $50.1 million, just to get a gauge for the size of the operation. Actual results came in about 1.9% better than anticipated in the budget, and about 5% over the prior year with that 2% formula increase, the special ed funding improvements and increases recognized by the district. Another area I like to point out is that the graph here really shows that focus of state sources for your general fund revenues, then followed by property taxes. So for your district, state sources made up 74.5% of your revenues in the general fund, with taxes then following up with 18.7% of those revenues. On the expenditure side, a similar graph with budget to actual to prior year. Your expenses in your general fund were $50.2 million in 2015, coming in within 2.7% of that annual budget. The largest variance being in that capital expenditure area, just due to timing of projects near year end. The change from prior year was about 1.2% more than last year. And then similar revenues, I focus on the concentration of spending in the general fund with salaries and benefits, like our other districts, as the primary expenditure for general fund and educating your students, making up about 80% of general fund spending. I just got one graph to capture the food service and community service funds. Both of these funds experienced an increase in fund balance over the prior year. They anticipated increases. The community service special revenue fund actually surpassed budget more than expected. Both of these operations are about a $2.2 million spending annually. So you can see much less than what's happening in the general fund. And therefore, we just point out the ending fund balances. The food service has a year-end fund balance of about 13.5%. The community service at 23.9% of their annual expenditures. Just a couple of comments to share with the board. I know you're aware with the debt service fund, we don't picture that, but this past year you'll see a significant increase in the activity with refunding bonds that went through the district in 2015, really used to reduce future debt service payments. I think that was close to $20 million in and out on the debt service fund. There's new activity for an internal service fund, which we'll provide in the future, but with the first year, there's really nothing to compare it to, but you'll see some new statements in your financial statements this year with activity going through for those self-insured activities for health and dental. And then the big change that we recognized this past year appeared only on the entity-wide statements. So the district's focus is on fund base, or from a budgetary perspective is on that general fund base, the food service, community service, etc. But a requirement of the current reporting model is that you also have to do entity-wide statements. So you combine all the funds and then add the buildings and the infrastructure, which are not a focus of the governmental funds. And as you can see, when we look at that entity-wide presentation, we're showing a significant decrease in the financial position. I just want to highlight for the board, we're seeing this at all of our districts, and it's proportionate based on your size. So the district had to implement a new GASB for pension standards in 2015, and this is reflecting that change for PERA and TRA, or proportionate share of their underfunding of those pension plans. So it's really making a drastic change in the presentations and the effect of your fund balance. So I don't want you to panic. I want you to be aware of what that change really is. So you can see the increase in the long-term debt obligations is showing that in that component. And then it's hitting the unrestricted component there. So you're making all the required payments as you have to for PERA and TRA. You wouldn't want to pay in more to cover your share. It's all proportionate as you pay it in on your covered payroll wages. So with that, I felt like it was very good overall results of the audit. I didn't mean to rush through it too quickly if you had it, but I know you had some financial presentations already of the results, and I didn't think I had any surprises for you tonight. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Tell me again the variance from over the course of the year. Was it over $6 million in our
6.1.
6.1, is that right?
Oh, in the cash.
The timing,
Yes.
timing of
Yes.
cash flow.
From the high month end to the low month end, and largely due to the spikes of when you get those property tax collections coming in twice a year.
Right, okay.
I just want to clarify that first internal control that you showed up there, you find that in almost every school that you have done that in.
We're finding it with less of them now because
You've gone
kind of
through.
cycled through them.
Right.
I would say kind of the timing, it was probably a year or two ago when
It started.
kind of got on the rotation and we didn't have to test that program. We were testing special ed or Title I.
Okay.
And so it kind of came around where it was its turn to be tested in that federal program.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much. And as always, we appreciate you coming out to Hastings ASAP so that we can get this information in a timely manner. So we appreciate that from your firm.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we move ahead and do the acceptance and then go back for the rest of your report?
I think so.
Do we have a motion to approve or accept the 2014-2015 audit report?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. And thank you, Kim. Back to Tim's report.
Just a very short update for all of you on TIES and student information systems. This is a really big decision for our school district, the student information system. TIES is no longer going to support their old student information system, and you can imagine how much work with all the data transition over, whether it be health related on who has peanut allergies, who has EpiPen or whatever it might be, tons and tons of data. Missy and Melanie Haugen have led our district, Missy Williams and Melanie have led our district through a very good process where we brought in the top two software programs, so to speak. One of them is being sponsored and supported by TIES, and another one is the largest student information system in the state of Minnesota. It's called Infinite Campus. And so we've had counselors in, principals in, teachers in, and of course Missy is very heavily involved in it as well. So it's going to be a big decision that we need to make here within the next couple of months. I just want to let you know as a board that we've done our due diligence to bring in and look at the firms. On the other side, TIES in general, Scott and I went to the executive annual meeting. I haven't been to this executive annual meeting in 7 years because I find it to be really just a update and then a rubber stamping. This year I had a little bit more interest in going. I think it was still an updating and a rubber stamping, and Scott found that out today too. I don't know if I'll go back again next year. Scott's our representative that sits on the TIES committee to go to this annual meeting. But just in a nutshell, what's been happening is TIES has been in the news a lot, and they're looking to right size, downsize, and refocus in the technology arena. What do they want to be known for? And so today, they really just kind of shared how they've downsized, how many positions they've eliminated, what their focus is now on 4 areas. And they just shared that for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. On a side note, Infinite Campus has issued a lawsuit against TIES for not properly advertising and doing an RFP for this software. So we didn't get a chance to talk much about that because, as you board members know, you really can't talk publicly about when a lawsuit gets brought forward. But I did go over and talk with the attorney because I knew this attorney, and so I had a good conversation with him on the direction that might go. But again, I think their CEO for TIES was just trying to let all board members and superintendents, and there was probably about, I think he said 39 out of the 49 members were present, so there was a high interest in being there today. And I do appreciate their effort in trying to right size and downsize. As we all know, that's not an easy process to go through, and then at the same time trying to meet the needs of the schools. So we'll see where TIES is going yet. I feel that in the year 2015, it's difficult for them to kind of find their niche of what school districts need, because Anoka needs some different things than Hastings needs. Edina and Osseo need some different things. Randolph is there, so that gives you the scope of the school districts that are there. And I think the CEO is going to go out and be more competitive on, for example, I'd asked Mark Moberg, our tech guy, to go out and get us some bids from Comcast on internet service and hosting web pages, etc. Well, today then they announced that he said that TIES is going to go out and get some bids from Comcast and other places. So I think the wheels are spinning in the right way, but other than that, I don't know quite yet where TIES is going to land, and so I just wanted to let you know that. And I don't know if you have anything else to share from the meeting today.
Yeah, it just seems like they're maturing a little bit. I don't have a huge history with TIES to know. Coming from a technology background, it just felt like they're in a big hurry. They are moving. They're correcting some things. They're moving to a. They're moving from their own data centers to, hey, we're gonna offsite this information to a data center because they can do it better, faster, cheaper, more secure than we can. Okay, yeah, things like this are making sense, for an organization like that. Shopping around for all the different wiring, that goes to the various places. I think that makes a lot of sense. It feels like their development, from what I gathered, they went from 10 directors and 10 teams down to 4. So, and there was a big emphasis on how fast they're moving and how fast they're trying to do some of these things, and they're quick to admit that the integrations, the end state integrations aren't going to be there day one. So they're being honest about what I felt anyway, they're being honest about what they're going to be able to deliver the big question is, okay, if the integration isn't there day one, when will it be? So it'll be interesting to see how the competition goes between the two.
It seemed like a big component of what we got out of ties was the support and training.
Yes, that's,
Will the Infinite Campus people be competitive on that, you think?
well, that's the
issue.
That's what you're trying to make a decision. The product that we've seen from both of them has been very good. So anybody who sat in, I sat in for 2 hours, and everybody looked at a different component. Everybody came away saying this product is much better than what it was. So now it's getting down to a question, do I believe that you're gonna provide me better service and resources, or are you gonna provide me better resources? And so Melanie, Missy, and I have been calling superintendents, tech directors, et cetera, to find out how has it been going, how has that transition been. And the difficult thing to gauge is what is your cost? Because both will give you an upfront cost, but then what is that training going to be like 2 years from now and 3 years from now as new systems get added, et cetera?
I think you touched on a good point to begin with. The migration of the data from the existing system into whatever new system that we have, I think is going to be pretty key. The ease of making that happen, I think, will go a long way towards the positive experience that we would have with the new
And
system.
quite honestly, so far our phone calls, I've probably called 8 to 10 different districts, and so have Melanie and Missy. The feedback's been pretty good on the transition for both.
So both of them will automatically flood that stuff over?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, well, with their human resources, hopefully not ours.
Well, the good news, if we would make that go to the Infinite Campus, let's say,
Yep.
would we be, they've done that already, they've done that exact same conversion from ties to Infinite Campus, I don't know how many times.
Right.
And I think where it gets real interesting is, I know that ties own some of the network that we're running on. And so if we end up having to lease from, Comcast or whomever, or would Infinite Campus also own enough network? I know ties knows how to work the E-rate stuff, so that we school districts pay pennies on the dollar compared to what others do. And I would expect that Infinite Campus would be right there with them on working E-rate. But
Right, yeah.
You would think that would be a pretty
Yeah.
big material difference in their bids if they weren't doing things similarly.
So the update for you on ties is two things. Number one is that they're transitioning away from, they're stopping their student information system, so it's forcing all schools to seek somebody else. And then number two, to let you know that they as an organization are transforming who they are and who their identity is. And they needed to, and they know that, so. TDE process update, I just want to let you know, again, this is the teacher development and evaluation process. We met again about 2 weeks ago, and I'm very thankful and appreciative. The teachers now are going to be going through the same cognitive coaching, peer coaching training that our principals went through. I'm extremely happy about that, because then we're talking apples to apples. And in fact, in the last probably 4 or 5 days, I've had 2 school districts contact me about how did we get that, the cognitive coaching for our administrators and then the peer coaching for the teachers to be the same. And I said it just happened. I know Miracle, we just sat down and we talked. And I really like the approach that our teachers are taking on that. The peer coaching will happen for any teacher who's not on their 3rd year of cycle. So if it's your 3rd year where your big summative evaluation is going to be, then a peer won't come and sit in and observe you. If Vince is in year 1 or 2 of his evaluation cycle, then Andy will come in and watch him. And so that's how the peer, it's just one time a year. It can be more if you want. It can also be, the person does not have to come into your room and observe you. It can be videotaped. And of course, Jen Reichel has tremendous experience in that, because she does a lot of that with principals, of taping and giving their opinions. So anyway, I'm very thankful that training won't come up until even January and in March. And then the teachers, I think right now there's 20 teachers that have already signed up that said, yes, I want to be a peer coach. They'll receive that training. We're going to do it from 3 till 6:30 at night. So thank the teachers again for recognizing it's so difficult to get subs. So as soon as their teaching day is done, they're going to go, boom, right into the training. And so we appreciate that as well. So very, very thankful and excited about the TDE process. I think it's going to really improve our teaching and our feedback to one another, and the principals are going to enjoy it as well. The Farm to School Lunch Program, you maybe heard a little bit about it. If I would have known about it a little bit sooner, I would have let you all know. It was on my calendar, Paul Baker's and April Beckles just tentatively, because we never knew for sure if they were coming, and they came, and boy did they come. The Commissioner of Education came, the Assistant Commissioner of Agriculture came. There were at least 15 to 20 individuals that came over to Pinecrest, and they stayed for about an hour. Kudos to April Beckel, our food service director. She wrote the grants for this program. As you can see in the photos, Jenny McNamara was there as well. This just gives you a quick little overview. She'd written for 2 grants totaling over $29,000, and you can read it, but for the listening audience at home, basically she was able to take those grants, and at Pinecrest and at JFK, she was able to purchase some hot and cold serving wells for both sites. And then in addition, she was able to do an analysis. A firm came in and did an analysis of who were some area farmers that we could use that we didn't know about, that we could go out and say, hey, could you bring your product right into our schools? And of course, as we know as a board, the Hastings Creamery has been our supplier of milk for I don't know how many years here. So again, just great for students to learn, first of all, to taste something different and be willing to try a fruit or vegetable, basically. That's not always appealing to a kindergarten, first or second grader, but then also for them to know that these are people that work right in the area, and the produce is coming from them as well. So really hats off to April for pushing it. Also helped that I believe that she was chair of the committee at one time that decided these grants. And just yesterday we were contacted by MDE because Andy Leiser made a cool video of kids, trying, and the owner of is it McDougal Apple? Yeah, he was there handing out apples, and so Andy made this cool little 1.5-minute video of kids being involved, and so they would like now to see if they could use it to help promote through MDE, and then they also believe at the federal level that they would like to use that video as well. So I don't know, maybe have to talk to Andy about copyright and us making some money, but again, for somebody outside to say, hey, that was really cool, and that video was really cool, that's a compliment for Hastings as well. So that probably could have been under the good news report as well. And if we would have known for sure, I would let board members know for sure too that they could have showed up. But very good for April Beckel and our food service program. And with that, we're ready for the action items.
Now, will those local vendors be getting us in trouble on next year's audit?
I don't think so. I'm hoping they're not.
September 2015.
I'm hoping they're not debarred or.
That was it. Good recall. Okay, we've approved the audit report. Next up, we have a motion to approve updating the position description for the administrative assistant with regards to HR, PR, and benefits.
And I was able to share just a little bit of the change of that position and the responsibilities of that position as we've tried to squeeze and downsize and take some hours from some people who are also willing to have some hours taken from them. But quite honestly, Kim would share with you the Affordable Care Act is requiring a lot more work and a lot more time consumption on the payroll and finance side. And so first we changed the job description at the board level, and then we advertised for a 30-hour position in that area. So I'm asking for your approval.
Do we have anyone to make the motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to accept 4 retirements.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I just noticed Cindy Johnson's name.
Yeah,
Wow. She was my oldest kid's first kindergarten teacher.
yeah, there's some people on the list with a few years,
Yeah.
and they're still young, still very young to be retiring, I think.
Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations and happy retirement. Motion to approve some leaves.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And 3 new employees.
I'll motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And a motion to approve an increase in the FTEs for Gail.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that one?
I just want to share that I continue to appreciate Dave's and other administrators' approach at first, saying we're going to hire people to what we think we can get the job done with, and if we can't, then we'll add. And this was a situation where, as you can tell, Gail was 0.7. We start out the year and we find out, hey, this just isn't working. And so now we have to increase. So I always like that approach first of let's see if we can make it work. And if we can't, then we add. So thank you for your motion and second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, change order.
Yeah, I called Scott McQueen on this. This is our fire alarm system at the middle school, and Scott would say, that this was probably their bad as engineers. There were 60 smoke detectors in the middle school gymnasium. You know how big the middle school gymnasium is, and they were hoping that when they put in the new fire alarm system, that those smoke detectors would interface and talk to the new fire alarm system, and there wouldn't be a problem. Well, they didn't. And so then there was a problem, and so where they were betting that they wouldn't have to replace them, they do need to replace them. So I still believe that overall, it still came under bid of what our projected costs were for the project, or right about what our costs were. So I'm still, we need the change order, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you approve it, or.
The smoke alarms have to interface with the fire system.
Yeah.
Sounds important.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I move to close the meeting for negotiations update.
Second?
Before you close it, can we figure out when we're gonna canvass?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tim and I were tentatively suggesting November 11th, early in the morning, perhaps 7:30? 7:30 on the 11th?
And what we do is when we canvass the elections, it's very short. We know the results from the 3rd, but we have to wait till at least the 6th, which is a Friday, I believe. And Vince and I both are at a conference on the 6th, so then we have to go into the next week. Not all board members have to be present, but we need at least 4 of you to show up and say, yes, we're agreeing to the canvassed results.
We can go earlier if you
Can I
want.
make a suggestion, since we're talking about the 11th, and that is Veterans Day, and there's the Veterans Day program at the middle school at 9:30 a.m.? Could we meet prior to that rather than at 7:30?
We could if we get enough people who were gonna go to it and not go to their jobs. So I don't know how many of you.
I
can.
I can attend.
Yeah.
Can you attend if we go at 7:30?
Yes.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't go until too late. I gotta take the kids to
Can you
school.
go
5 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be 5 minutes.
Okay.
Can we
Yeah, I
really
can
wait
wait
that
there.
long to do the canvassing?
We have to.
Oh,
We can't do it before the 6th, and we have to do it before the 3rd.
Other years it was different.
Yeah,
You used to be able to do it the night of the
Yeah, we did.
11th,
Yeah.
if
We
the
came right
person
in.
could pull
Yeah.
the canvas together fast.
okay,
But
all right, so it's different now.
Yeah, so the question is 7:30 and be done in 5 minutes, or would there be enough board members here at 9 o'clock where we could canvass it, and then those who are here, we walk down to the program, the best program that starts at 9:30.
Well, 9 o'clock, show of hands, who would be there at 9?
I don't know.
Well, we've got 4 right here that would be there at 9, so why don't we shoot for 9? Rather than double whammying it, you know, because otherwise it's 7:30.
It's up to whatever you as a board want to do, because I'll be here either way.
Well, if all four of you want to do that, that's fine with me.
I would prefer that, because for kid drop-off and such too.
Yeah.
That'd be
So
awesome.
9 o'clock on the 11th. Okay?
okay, now you can make a motion.
Yes.
Do we have a
Move it.
second for Dan's
Yeah.
motion? on
I'll second it.
closing? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And we'll pop right next door for just 5 minutes so that they can start tearing down and get home, or wherever they're going.
I need some.
Otherwise, we can't be elected. Or you can, oh, you don't have.
I don't
You
need
see,
to
we
be-
don't
I-
care.
well,